Chapter 13 Infinite Magic. If you or I died overnight, then how would we know? Would we feel more at home inside of our bodies? Or would we feel more free to live only with our soul? I thought I died last night when a heat scorched my body, mind, and spirit with fiery flashes. It felt like I'd been thrown into a fire, because now that I'm awake, I'm covered in ashes. Yet here I am, quite crispy, wondering if I died. And are dreams just a wake-up call? Oh, it felt like I melted in a heat wave that baked me alive.
Something has changed. You are not the same. You even look different than when you went in. But beneath your skin, you're blue. Did something get rearranged in you?
Said Nandi. It's a long story, but now I remember that we're not who we think we are. Rather, there is grace, and we have to get in tune with it. Such grace can spread to all the living, and we can align all beings in the natural and divine harmony. I realize that we are all one behind it all, even though this is just a temporary body.
Far out. And how did this realization happen?
Asked Nandi. Wonder burrowed through the active imagination to question how life could be so surreal. Even though the senses in this body were not quite aligned, I felt it troublesome to understand what I'd come to feel. The nervous system was fried, and the body felt like an alien spacesuit driven by a computer that had just gotten rebooted. The mind and body were halfway synchronized, but these thought patterns were hyperactive inside, as my soul was like a blank slate. And so I wondered if my body was like a secret vault that had just been looted. What happened? What am I doing here? Where is Shruti? And had I been burned by this fire? Last night was so intense, and why is my back so stiff? I feel as if my soul has climbed out from this body, and someone else is living in my limbs. Then I noticed something suspicious. In the pit of the empty fire was a symbol drawn in the ashes. One continuous line winded in circles right before us. It looked like a labyrinth. Circles looped together before it ended in a straight line. Who had drawn this? Shruti or I? Whatever the case, it was now morning as clouds floated across the sky. What is this? I wondered.
Happy birthday. It's your new life,
Shruti whispered from inside. Oh, right. She was there within me. She's something like the active imagination that moves about freely. And do you know what happened to me?
You mean we? Well, we made a treaty that we'd share each other equally. And the map I drew is a unilome from a conversation I had with the Earth Mother. I hope you don't mind it, but we need to use your body for something very important. I'll let you have it back now, and I even left the key in the ignition with the engine running,
said Shruti. You mind turning off the lights next time? I feel like I was left in the sun for a decade. What gives? And did we get any sleep? All I remember is closing my eyes in contemplation when it got so bright on the inside. What were you doing with that fire?
We all have the extraordinary coded within us, waiting to be uncovered,
said Shruti. Now that I'd snapped out of it, I realized how the middle of the world was down below, and there were countless demon heads in that city just out of view. But what are we doing here? There are so many of the demon heads that I fear.
Simply stated, last night we started a chain reaction, and I have reason to believe that we've caught the deceiver's attention. So an entire new path has been set in motion. So begins the ending on the path to fruition. Soon one of two things will happen. As our light spreads, the illumination will either be embraced or it will be met with dread. And if it's embraced, we'll remove the darkness just as light does. But if the deceiver fights against it, then we're going to need to collect some more demon heads. If that happens, I'm going to need a very long thread, because after I decapitate the demonic nature, I'll sew the severed heads together and wear them as a necklace,
she said. Excuse me? I must have missed something. What do you mean a necklace of demon heads? And what about this chain reaction?
It's been an intense dark night, but the worst of it is over. And the reason for the transformative heat is because I sped things up when I pushed you in the fire. Welcome back out into the world, sweetie. And know that I wouldn't do it unless our situation was dire.
She was impossible to escape, and it was difficult to believe her thoughts which were in our mind. Was I just a witness to all of this? And how had the various parts of my human persona become misaligned? Oh, I'm fine. I'm sure I just had a bad day. But why am I here all alone up in this cave?
I can feel that you're concerned because of how long I left you to burn.
Shruti paused.
But if you can trust me, then you'll know that this is the beginning of our victory. This has been a transformational process, and our progress has picked up on an exponential trajectory. Most people's souls are in a linear progression upon the path to fruition. But when we enter into the fire, something changes us. And so our progress grows exponentially by the fire's fierce intensity. Please don't be mad at me, because next time you look in the mirror, you may be shocked at what you see. So just remember, we should honor what is reflected through our reality. And after we pull this off, the harmony will come to fruition because of the minority's bravery. The whole demon army will have to make a choice soon: embrace unity or be defeated by the Naga army. It's simple now. Our world is on the path of a fresh start or a very rude awakening. Either way, the thing I love about you most is that our light will forever be a spiritual beacon,
said Shruti. What does this mean for the demon heads?
For the demon heads, it is a death. But of course they can choose the light. And if they honor the spiritual nature of our eternal flame together, we'll light up the dark night, and their spiritual nature will emerge in their new life. Our spiritual essence is always at risk of being covered, but it is not possible for spiritual beings to die, because our spirit is eternal. The demon heads and the deceiver may even fight and resist it, but it's impossible to defeat the light when they themselves are also made of the spirit,
said Shruti. Can you explain more about our spirit?
Our spirit is made of light from the highest order. We are initiates of the one eternal flame, now and forever. Fire symbolizes purification, the essence of light, and when paired with that which is heard, our earth soul and all the elements becomes united. Fruition has been set in motion, and there are many moving parts coming into union. And over the past dark night, we have followed the path of my sacred unalome,
said Shruti. These stiff limbs struggled to move while we integrated each arm while the legs tried to react. We rose up in the body and stumbled to the river when I saw an unaccustomed face looking back. Was this me?
No, it is we.
After the dark night, our hair had grown gnarled, as if no one had taken care of me. Ashy skin peeled right off, as I was too thin, and I could not recall the last time we'd been fed. If anyone had seen me, they may think I was dead, but inside, why, we felt more alive than I'd ever been. What happened?
Do you remember the meeting with the Nagas? Let's just say we are with them together in union. Are you aware that the Nagas and I hold power over the earth, and so it is we who have dominion? You should also remember how I change forms depending on each situation. Well, before I met you, I was tethered into the powers of preservation, destruction, and creation. And so this happens through a power which we could call the active imagination. After all, the imagination is the birthplace of spiritual creation. Some use the imagination for fun. Others drift off in their minds to hidden places. But as I assume responsibility of the entire imagination, I am grounded in our spiritual nature, and so I pave a new way which has yet to be manifested. It's much like a play, a painting, or a fantasy, and so it is I who create reality. Here we exist under the measure of time, and so I will guide you to create, preserve, and destroy freely,
said Shruti. I have seen your power, but what is such power for?
The will of any living body has power to achieve whatever it desires, and through such a pursuit, there is a type of transaction that transpires, not so different from a type of market. We find there is an exchange from our actions, and so we could know this as a type of karma. We can buy things with money, invest, and uncover discoveries with the power of our prosperity. Yet all of this accrues under the basis that this is an accumulation bound around time. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. No matter how much is acquired, we are all measured through our individual thoughts, intentions, and actions. But what matters most is our actual offering, as this is a type of spiritual sacrifice. Again, we are discussing the nature of an individual's power. And if our actions are pure and selfless, we can tap into spiritual power, where we rise beyond the human level of thinking, where our actions stretch deeper and higher. Isn't it amazing how the simple thoughts of a human brain can either limit or be unlimited? We can think of desires that one alone wishes to acquire, or we can offer our life in service to something far greater. Such spiritual power is woven within the principle of surrender, and that is where I have discovered great power. Such power does not belong to me or you, yet if we work in free service, without turning it into a business, our power will move beyond selfishness, where we can find the way into the very center of that which is the spirit. When this occurs, the power of the universe works through us, and so I am the active imagination, which becomes one of the most critical components within us. With the old ways of selfish thinking outdated, now the imagination can rise beyond that which is known. Oh, everyone claims that they know God, but God is not something the mind can even fathom. By opening to our imagination, we become a conduit for spirit to flow through us, and when this happens, infinite magic works in union with us. Soon you'll discover this. Then you'll see that whatever you begin to imagine is what comes to fruition. Oh, the hardest thing to remember is who has control of it, and so we will be a witness to the power in it. Oh, who is brave enough to sit in the fire of transformation? But you did it, a silent witness,
said Shruti. The imagination began to paint us a picture, and I could only guess that it arose through a connection from our intuition. As if a mental map revealed a grand vision, I saw it all come to fruition. In this discovery, it was not a human desire that gets someone's life further ahead, but rather God's grace is required, because upon our final day, no one can escape death. Spiritual practices help us open and stay ready, but through this vision, all I found was a door. Oh, human willpower and action alone could not open it, because this was the entry into a new world. We should wait for the door to open, because it might not be open for long. I think that's the whole point of contemplation. We remain in the present moment, right where we belong. Oh, I was ready for that door to open. And what if it's only open for a single second? Can you imagine that? we should always be ready to meet the moment that this divine door opens, because it would be a shame if we missed it. Yes, I feel myself as a sort of witness, but what is the infinite magic of our imagination?
Can you imagine how there are things beyond the mind we cannot fathom? Did you know that there is light beyond our sight that exists on an infinite spectrum? What if God is not separate from us, but rather by the power of creation, a spark of God's light lives within everyone? What if everyone is the teacher? What if everything is the teaching? There are forces of energy beyond human perception, but those who are covered by demon heads refuse to see this. Since they cannot surrender to the spiritual forces, they become concealed from it. And here you are. You have found the treasure. Because within our imagination, there is a connection to the infinite magic of creation. And with it, we can be present in harmony with nature throughout all realities. Many have romanticized such power, but this goes beyond what the intellect or reason can envision. There between the student, the teacher, and the infinite magic of creation is the romance of this heartfelt wisdom,
said Shruti. Romance? I felt her hand weave together around mine when a surge of energy warmed my core, as I wondered if she was my lover on a level beyond the mind. In that vision which was before me, the door opened as we jumped up to meet this divine portal that transcended realities. Our body entered a gateway when we found ourselves home in our true nature, and so we were always right here, flying over totality. We would bend with time, beyond the stars, and below us were mountains as a certain mantra repeated through the mind. Arise, awake, stop not until the goal is reached. Infinite magic is within our reach, and I did not know the limits of how deep the imagination could teach. Feeling giddy as a child, I flew to the sacred mountain peak nearby when I saw Shruti's face emerge through the clouds in the sky. Who do these mountains belong to? Not you or I, but rather these mountains hold a sacred spirit. There she is, the unseen one, between earth and sky. What does this infinite magic hold? Not something I can know. Yet there is a doorway into a new world, and so it opens. Oh, the imagination! Then there is such boundless potential that can lead us to fruition.
It will take action, and first we should listen. Observe that which is heard. Then we can see what the demon heads are missing,
said Shruti. Oh, Shruti, do not let my words and thoughts separate me and them. Demon heads may cover the world, but I am not separate from anyone. Allow me to rest in the heart you gave us. May we look everywhere and see the light within everyone. We are not demon heads or even separate souls in disguise. Infinite is the fire within all hearts. Allow us to look deep and see the divine spirit gaze out from all of our eyes.
So what will we do?
Said Shruti. Sometimes words are fine, but intentions and actions can speak louder. As we came back into our body, we entered the city in an effort to bring infinite magic to unite all people, nations, and religions. But when we arrived in the city, I was devastated when I saw homeless children who needed help. The poor child pulled on my sleeve. Meanwhile, our world had enough for everyone, but not enough for everyone's greed. And how can we be in service? Oh, what was the way for our soul to find peace? If I gave this child money, it might only last a day or maybe a week. Then what happens after the money runs out? The suffering will repeat. Without money or resources, I turned to the imagination in hopes there was a way we could heal such terrible suffering. In my arms was a small wooden instrument, and it was called a Shruti box. I unlatched one hinge where the instrument opened up, and it was not different from a lung, when Shruti didn't need language to talk. I could not bear to see the poor child suffering. His body begged for food or money, and there I heard Shruti's imagination whisper how the light of this child's soul will never die. There I noticed how Shruti's imagination turned words into wonders. She turns confusion into clarity. Oh, could Shruti heal all the pains and troubles that dwell within humanity? Maybe it was through the imagination that we could solve poverty and heal disparity. As I went on to play the instrument, her lungs sang, as Shruti went on to talk. Not a single word was spoken, but a vibration resonated in a rhythmic ambiance. Each of her notes was a long, steady sound. Oh, we were not going anywhere, but rather, after a moment, the starving child sat beside us. Meanwhile, the earth-time seemed to pause, while Shruti and the light of the universe danced in a divine rhythm. The wind would add in, and the sky would look over the earthly reality. And while this sound connected our souls home, I wondered if this was the doorway into heaven or immortality. All the while, this was more than just a vibrational frequency. Shruti stayed with the hungry child and I while we listened to that which was heard as our power stretched through the imagination. As Shruti sung, I noticed how she held the divine door open for that hungry child. But after I blinked my eyes, we were back in mundane reality again. Not only was there a suffering child beside us, but the sound of the Shruti box had summoned a homeless man. Reality troubles all hearts with grief, but how could anyone cope with the immense pain of being human? And so how could we help? Again, Shruti insisted we try the imagination. Now the homeless man saw the child and revealed a stash of food. Oh, Shruti had somehow summoned the man, and now the child was fed. Oh, who among us knows the absolute cure? So again, I dove into the imagination, which led us into the cavern of the heart center. There within us lives a light, and the eternal flame flickered upon a human wick. Yes, this is it. Within us is God's source of infinite magic. Why, I alone do not know how to find an ultimate cure for worldly suffering, but I am now aware of a secret door called the imagination. She lives beyond time as she reaches into our mundane reality. Shruti is not different from wisdom, and again, I felt the light of infinite magic pull on my sleeve, but this time, the child came to thank me. Oh, come with us, dear child. Take our hand as we walk through the doorway of our imaginations. Once we got through the door, I did not see a starving child, but rather, I saw this beautiful soul as a gift from the Divine Mother. Shruti's imagination created a land of possibilities, and so I lowered my head to bow to the light within this child. As the child stood at the center of this inner temple, I noticed this child was the center of reality. Within this child's heart was the divine light, and the fire of the soul grew when it emerged through a seed and expanded into the great world tree. Here she is, the once starving child that gives fruit to all. She gives shade from the sun's heat, and she waits through every winter and fall. She is the oldest living being, and her life reaches into every soul throughout all of creation. Many great beings have visited the earth and fallen to their hands and knees in reverence. What I had seen as a hungry child in our world was revealed as the light of the universe. And so now I know that this child is no different from our Divine Mother. As the Shruti box sang out, we had come to attract quite a crowd. And so came a merchant who saw the child and the homeless man when he offered food to everyone. Only minutes before, I was heartbroken with suffering so tragic, but with just a little help from Shruti's imagination, we were able to open the doorway of infinite magic. If the imagination is grounded in our spiritual nature and not a fantasy, desire, or illusion, then our imagination opens us to the infinite power that fosters the birth of spiritual creation.
This is the real sustenance. It is divine nourishment for everyone,
said Shruti. Oh, I prayed to be like this world tree. Her roots are so deep into the source of this sacred ground. I too am grateful to be attached to her source of creation. May the imagination allow all of us to find a path home to God. Now Nandi came beside us to honor the sacred child, and I was surprised because I had not felt that Nandi and I were apart. There was so much to express through our journey together, but I couldn't stop playing the Shruti box because I felt the presence of God within my heart.
Surya, do not be afraid of anything. You will do marvelous work. It is fearlessness that brings heaven even in a moment. Arise, courageous soul. Unite heaven and earth. Take risks in your life. If you win, you can lead. If you lose, you can guide. Dare to be free. Dare to go as far as thought leads. And dare to carry that out in your life. Arise, awake, stop not until the goal is reached,
said Nandi. What is this power of the imagination? Now Shruti responded,
It is the entrance into the world of the Magi and their hidden nation. This is beyond what humans can fathom, and the way to access this plane of reality is through the imaginary reality. Behold the doorway into the imagination, which leads to the entire nation comprised of the Magi,
said Shruti. Who are these Magi?
Magi come in different flavors. On one hand, they can become angels, and so they are God's spiritual helpers. But on the other hand, they could be swayed by the powers of evil, and that is the one we know as the deceiver,
said Shruti.